Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and I hate to say I told you so, but fuck, I'm pretty sure I told you so. I told so many people in so much stream and videos and stuff that this next league, 3.16, based off of how the previous one was going to be received and how there was nerfs that went backwards that allowed for future power creeps and big leagues and big items and stuff, would happen. It happened. It all just happened. So for this video, I'm going to go over some reactions and just a bit of an overview of the announced league, which is Scourge, and it looks like it will comfortably be the best league we've ever played. I mean, comfortably is a hard way to say it, but you know, there's a lot of good stuff. I think the game is personally usually basically as good as it's ever been, just about every league. Yes, the nerfs are not very fun, so maybe not the best league ever, but it's still basically the best state the game is in with how much there is to do and skills and all of that. In any case, this league, lots of buffs for various things, lots of new stuff, and the league mechanic looks mwah. So here we go, let's get into it real quick. As for the trailer and all that, whole thing's been announced and Chris Wilson went over it for a nice little interview, or you know, what am I trying to say? Announcement. He just announced it on stream and then interviewed with Ziggy D as well. So the Scourge League itself is kind of a demonic theme, and it's kind of like a hidden world alternate reality in Rayclast, which is a whole bunch of demonic type shit. Kind of similar to a delirium, let's just say, but you have more control over when this shit happens. It'll kind of accumulate as you play, and then you press a button, and then you go into this demonic realm that is alongside the realm you are currently in, which just has a shit ton of monsters, and they're out to get you, and there's rewards and power creeped items and stuff. That's a new skill there, big tornado fire stuff. I just really love the aesthetic of the entire league, you know, the demonic stuff and what they've brought to the table with the new monster design, and it blew me away. As you can see, there is the reward in the form of these sort of corrupted items that get more corrupted as you go, and there's going to be some power creep there. On top of that, improved atlas, so your atlas is going to get cut in half, so obviously it'll get quicker to go through it. Passive tree rework, that was a big unexpected one, not just a few little clusters and stuff got added or reworked. We're talking the whole thing reworked. Guilds and guild hideouts, and some new skills and stuff like that. And that's a fancy new monster design and boss. Overall, it looks absolutely ridiculous, and I couldn't be more excited. The only bad thing was, at least from my personal point of view, which is a bit selfish, I guess, the patch notes were dropped directly after the stream, and I usually like to do my patch notes, you know, in the evening, 12 hours afterwards. And I need to be prepared for it, so I buy some wine and cheese and we make an event of it. But they would drop directly after this live stream, and it screwed me over a bit because I wasn't prepared, and I was very tired from having a sore arm and stuff from second COVID vaccine, so I didn't get much sleep. So I will still be doing it later in the evening after this video goes live by about, I don't know, 10, 11 hours, something like that. Check the tweet. And, you know, you can see me go over the entire patch notes. There's lots there to unpackage, and we'll make an event of it either way. So, as far as other stuff is concerned, basically they just go over what the mechanic is like. It's definitely worth checking out the actual live stream and the video of Chris Wilson going over it if you haven't, if you want more info, because that is going to make much more sense. But kill stuff. Fill up this bar on the right hand side. Once it's as full as you want it to be, you can go into this demonic realm and fight things. It will be attached to a timer. You take more damage as you stay in there, and the more stuff you kill, the more corruption, I think it is, you fill up on a certain item that you place in the little corruption window, like they'll show here, I think, right now. Boom. So you put an item in there. As you kill stuff in the corruption realm, it'll like fill up, and then once it's filled up enough, you can have an attempt at sort of transforming the item in a similar sort of way to how Varlorbs did before, but what it's going to do more specifically is have an upside and a downside. So in this case, it has extra int requirement, but the upside is that it has physical damage as a base. So that's just basically pure profit right there. It's a tier 1, it can go up to tier 3, and so that means after your first tier, if you're not happy with it, you can transform it again, and it'll have different implicit positive, negative. Once again, if you're not happy with the tier 2, you can go once more for tier 3, and it'll have even bigger positive and negative. And some of these positive and negatives are pretty big. Like, you know, you can have a whole bunch of extra fizz damage, you can have curse on hit, additional arrow, whatever the hell, depending on the item. But some of the negatives are completely game breaking, or, you know, build breaking, like deal no physical damage, which means your entire character, which might be based entirely around fizz, will deal no fizz damage. So you do have to be careful about that, but it's kind of, you know, a big dice roll on some of your items, whether or not they'll be usable or get purely enhanced. Chances are, you know, if you got a good item and you want to upgrade it in some fashion, going from tier 1 to 3 different attempts, chances are something good will happen and it won't just be a pure brick. So I think that's pretty, you know, reasonable risk to be taking with just about any item. Of course, it will then corrupt the item, and that means that you can't change it afterwards in any way, except for potentially scourging it another tier. You can't, like, you know, add mods to it. They have introduced new currencies though for you to like change the dueling, fusing, and chromaticing of it a bit easier rather than just crafting bench, but the actual item itself won't be modified any further. So there's plenty more after that. Atlas endgame improvements. They're cutting the Atlas in half, which should make filling out the Atlas at the start of a league so much simpler and so much faster, and getting to your passive bonuses for that zone much quicker. It also, I think, will promote or prompt you to start looking into your other systems like your delve, your betrayal, your heist, that type of thing. So all good news there. But there will be a huge revamp of the endgame Atlas and systems and all of that next year anyway, in the very next league after this one. So, you know, take it for what it is for now. Just a nice expediting of the endgame process and a bit more fun, but even bigger stuff coming in the next patch for our endgame and our Atlas and all of that. The new aspirational content they're talking about is basically just beefed up versions of all the side league mechanics and stuff, which won't affect a lot of us. Like, for example, pretty rarely am I running, you know, pure breach stones or all the way to 20 waves and simulacrum, that sort of thing. But if you got a character that's particularly beefy, you know, follow one of the meta guides out there, one of the real strong builds at the time, and you're taking on all content and think it could do more, there is more for you to do, and there are bigger rewards, and this will be in the form of more power creep. Some particularly unique items and particular rewards from these will make things quite a bit more powerful if you can get your hands on them. Seems like they will be rather rare or tough to achieve, but ultimately there's more for you to do if you want to test your end game character at this point, or just farm a little bit harder. So kind of went over that in the previous video a bit, all of this stuff. Delve, one of them that Chris did mention later on, I think, is that catch-up delve mechanic is a lot nicer. So, you know, at the moment, if you want to enter delve and you've yet to do it by level 90 or so, it starts you at level 60, I think. Now, if you ignore delve for like 3 weeks, it'll start you at level 80, which is amazing. So you no longer have to like grind up those shitty little levels, and you can basically start at a pretty appropriate and good level of delve, get some good rewards, get some good XP, and fight some bosses and do some of the new revamped delve stuff. They've done plenty of revamps in delve, aside from just the little biomes. They've revamped some monsters and balancing and all kinds of shit. So it sounds pretty good. The big thing though, I think the big thing is the passive skill tree rework. As I mentioned, they haven't just adjusted a few things here or there, but basically taken a look at the entire passive tree and killed off some of the bloat of some of, stuff that's just not relevant or not that good or not that taken, and streamlined some of it. But more importantly, they've added a new system called Masteries, which is a bit tough to explain on the fly, but hopefully I'll get a visual aid in a second. Basically, what you do is now when you take a notable in a certain cluster, you can then pick a specialization in that notable that is related to all the other types on that tree. So if we're looking at, let's say, for example, the lightning node here, once you fill out the notable to the lightning node, you can then pick a mastery for it, and it will have all kinds of different, not a good example, here we go. The flask thing, since they actually show it. You take the flask node, you get to the flask mastery, and that means that all the nodes on the tree that share the flask stuff have a mastery in them. You can then take a mastery to specialize in on that particular passive notable. So in this case, you get these two. You then need to spend an extra passive point to allocate the mastery, and you can pick between any of this stuff and prioritize whatever you want immediately, as opposed to having to travel to all the various different ones for what you want. And that is going to be the same for all the other type of shit: life, energy shields, lightnings, fires, whatever. And it's kind of like adding wormholes to the passive tree, but not quite. Just a bit more of a streamlined system for what you want and what you want sooner, and without having to travel to certain things that you don't want across the tree. So, I think, give us a lot more power. So bring back a bunch of power into our hands in the passive tree building. Probably less of a focus on cluster jewels all of a sudden, and kind of just shake up the passive tree meta as we know it. So that's going to be interesting shit and a lot for us to do. And God help the path of building guy at the moment. We'll see how that gets handled. We then do also have the 6 new keystones that they've added. Pretty much they've all been mentioned before, but I'll go over them real quick, I guess. Int provides no inherent bonus to energy shield, and then 2% reduced duration of elemental ailments on you per 15 int. That one's just above, like near the center of the tree, just above the scion area, and it won't be too relevant, I don't think. You can't really take it on an int stacking character, so you definitely can't cap it by itself. Maybe something like a Mjolnir character that takes 300 or 400 int. You can then convert all that int, if you're not using it for energy shield, into like 40 to 50 reduced duration of elemental ailments, and then you only have to pick up a few extra little passives, and then you can become immune to ailments. So, that's one example of it being used. You got the dexterity provides no inherent bonus to evasion rating, and then instead of that, if you're stacking dexterity, let's just say you got 1500 dexterity in your build, you can get up to 100% chance to suppress spell damage, which means spell damage is 50% less effective on you. That's pretty big. That's pretty good. But then it really depends if you're building thick into evasion or not at the time, because that is otherwise losing a pretty big chunk of your evasion. Lith Shade, 50% less damage over time if you started taking damage over time in the past second. And then 100% more duration of ailments on you. So, bit of protection against damage over time. Can't really see any too super funky uses off the top of my head off that, but just a bit of protection if you're worried about things like, bleed, poison, ignite, that sort of thing. Divine Shield cannot recover energy shield to above armor, and 3% of total physical damage prevented from hits recently is regenerated as energy shield per second. So that helps build into sort of an armor energy shield hybrid character. Maybe more Inquisitor or Guardian type style shit. Ghost Dance got removed from Trickster, just chucked on the tree so that not only Trickster can build into that type of thing, and then Trickster gets some other shit. And Versatile Combatant, as Chris mentioned, is earlier, a while back. We've already known about this one. Minus 25 to your max block and max spell block, so you can only have 50 max, but 2% chance to block spell damage for each 1 overcap chance to block. So basically, if you get 75 current attack block, and then you take this thing, your attack block goes to 50, but your spell block all of a sudden goes to 50 as well. So, bit of a, do you take it, do you not take it, etc. New skill gems, they do go over a few of these. Energy Blade, basically you're going to reserve or cast to, not reserve, to cast off of your energy shield 1 time. So so 100 or so energy shield at level 1, and then you start attacking with extra damage based off of your maximum energy shields. And depending on the numbers at the higher end, could be pretty busted and could be some stuff to work into. Temporal Rift is a very interesting one they've introduced, which basically puts you back into your time space 4 seconds ago. So you press the button, do some things, press the button again, boom, 4 seconds later, you go back to where you were, based off of your position, your life, your mana, your energy shield. That could create some interesting combos, definitely some potential for hardcore gameplay, you know, do some things, nearly die, and then pop your button and you're back at maybe full life, like example right there, which was a horrible example because I was covering the life bar. Let's look at that again. Using your skill, casting a bunch, taking a bunch of damage, and then you will go back up to full life because you saved your state earlier. Should be some fun stuff to play around with, see how relevant it is ultimately in the future. And once again with Delve, just another little example of what you can do there, and you won't be affected by temp chains while you're in that sort of stasis, which is what they're showcasing there. Tornado is one that looks super badass. Don't know how good it'll be. Moves pretty slow, ramps in later stages and all that. Basically, throw out a big tornado and you can make it take on the ailment or the element that you basically attack into it with your projectiles. So it is more projectile based, and then it'll also do damage based off of the amount of projectile damage you like put into it. Pretty cool shit there. Explosive Concoction gets kind of buffed and much more usable based off of the feedback that's been given to it recently, and because of that they feel more comfortable putting out another version of a skill, which is Poisonous Concoction. Similar sort of thing, but more of a poison setting entirely, and there it is. Basically a whole bunch of extra poison damage, and it's going to be based off of your life flask charges, so you can beef up your life flask. This one looks actually really interesting to me. Very good Pathfinder synergy, I think, and might be a good starter. And then a whole bunch of stuff they introduced which has to do with group play, which, you know, looks a bit confusing to me, but basically like tether yourself to another person, and some interesting consequences and buffs. It makes you stronger, but at the same time, if the person that tethers has their friend die, you die. Something like that. But then there's several different forms of tether, and they each have their own kind of benefit and reason for doing so. So they're trying to kind of improve or enhance or alter your group play, and not make it too strictly reliant on like auras or buffs or some shit. So there's some to read over there. I'm not going to go over them. They're a bit confusing. But yeah, then there's the entire manifestos that they put in. Guild improvements that they're putting in are not quite what I was looking for. I was looking for an increase in guild size, because it's been the same size for the past like 6-7 years or something, and I've got a fairly large guild that needs more people, because, you know, we're a big community. But otherwise they are adding tabs, you know, that you can do specific stuff to. There's going to be guild hideouts. There's going to finally be this shit where you can, you know, track what's happening with the guild tabs. But yeah, guild hideouts, pretty cool stuff. You know, make one guild hideout for the entire sort of guild, and then guys can lurk and hang around and see each other way more often than you currently do. Some, you know, good updates that we have been missing for years for guilds, and you can even open maps and run maps from there. There you go, guild stuff. Anything else guild improvements? Expedition gets re-added and a bit more streamlined, so you won't have to click stuff anymore to pick up the mechanics, fragments, that sort of thing. Instead they're just going to be scooped up automatically. You know, nice little quality of life change. And at that same time, that also, yeah, brings me to the item drop stacking. So they are finally introducing a system and going to try and give us less clicks than ever before by consolidating a lot of stuff. So you won't see as many portal scrolls dropping or as many wisdom scrolls dropping, but instead you'll see them dropping, you know, in fewer frequencies, but larger amounts. So instead of seeing like 10 wisdom scrolls by killing 10 mobs, you'll see a stack of 10 after killing that 10th mob, for example. And likewise with plenty of other shitty currencies, transmutes and stuff, and other splinters, they're getting stacked up. And this looks like a huge quality of life for our wrists, fingers, peace of mind, all of that. And as well as that, stacking stuff in the inventory. So just to bank stuff should be a lot easier. A lot of big stuff. As far as the supporter packs are concerned, you can check out my VOD if you want for how I went over them. But personally, my first reaction was that the sets, armor sets, didn't look that particularly cool, and I really like the portals. But once I bought them and actually went in-game with them, my reaction kind of flipped. I didn't particularly like the portals in-game, personally, but I thought the sets actually look really nice in game. The shield especially, the white shield and the white bow looks really cool. And then I really like the actual robe sort of thing that the character's wearing. And the edgy set, the dark one, is pretty well made. Looks kind of Dark Soul-ish in game. And then there's going to be a Twitch Rivals tournament. Last time I did this thing was with Quinn69. We had a lot of fun, but at the same time, it was like on US servers or some shit, and I had terrible lag, and it was honestly kind of a soul-crushing, demoralizing beatdown. I mean, I might still be doing it again. Chuck my name in the hat. But I don't know how it's going to go. It's not something I'm particularly, you know, keen to do, but if it's there, I'll give my best and maybe make the most of it. We'll see how that goes. So that's all of that. There is the, of course, official announcement page that you can look at. That's our shadowy NPC figure, available on PC in just a bit over 1 week. I've got a week to like slap some sort of cosplay together. Fuck me, right? And the patch notes are out, and I'll go over them about 12 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, something like that from now, and see how many more changes there are. Probably nothing too unexpected at this point, just specifics about everything we've already been shown. Okay, so yeah, big league. I'm pretty sure this will be Path of Exile's best ever league to date, and then the next one after that, roughly in January, probably the new best Path of Exile league to date, as it'll have big endgame revamp and a whole bunch more stuff they're going to give us, because that's just how good they are to us. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you're as excited as I am, and I'll see you next time.